We're going to try and do a bit of our NG2 practical project based on this movie scene where someone gets crushed in a garage door. This dude's like the worst killer going. No, seriously, it's like, beer bottles do not just explode like that when you throw them at people, especially when you throw it into their stomach. So she goes for the doggy door. Now, they made this doggy door absolutely huge because a normal doggy door, you just wouldn't fit through there. Oh my goodness. Oh no, that's not good. Oh, very 1960s skirt. She's kind of hanging there. Oh no, that's not good. Oh, flashing light and everything. Oh dear. Ooh. All right, she's gone. All right. Okay, so would this happen in real life? No. You could see the whole thing was shaking, the motor was struggling, the light bulb was flashing to indicate there was some kind of power fluctuation going on. The bottom line is that the average domestic garage door is not strong enough to pick up the door and a fully grown woman like this. You know, there's a motor. The motor is designed to roll up the door, so it can take the weight of the door, but it can't take a 50 kilo, 55 kilo person as well. And they also have the strength not just to pick her up, but to actually crush her at the same time or strangle her. It just wouldn't happen in real life. And then furthermore, is like the doggy flaps just aren't big enough to crawl through. Let's try to apply this to an NG2 project, and let's imagine that this is a workplace. It's not a domestic door, it's actually an industrial door. Okay, so what hazard category would it be? Well, the hazard category would be work equipment. Here, this is a mechanical hazard, and because it's from crushing, trapping, that kind of thing. So we could say that the doggy door is powered, is powered, and creates an entanglement hazard as it rolls up, and also a trapping, crushing hazard around the doggy door. Around the Diggy's door? Diggy's door? Who's Diggy? The doggy. The doggy door. There we are. Now, I said earlier that this couldn't happen in real life. On a domestic garage door, probably not. But what if it's an industrial door? Well, okay, well, take a look at this sad story here. A woman, 40-year-old woman, was crushed to death by automatic garage doors after clinging to the closing shutters. And as she said, this happened as she said to her friend, "Have you ever held on to it as it goes up?" So for a bit of a laugh and a joke, she held on to the door as it went up. And then, well, I don't know the full detail, but then her arm got trapped in the door, got wrapped around. It pulled her and her body up there and trapped her head and neck in there. And there's a picture of the poor lady as well. So her friend, Susan Gilmore, watched in horror as she rose 3 feet from the floor before blood started coming from her mouth. We don't need to go through the full gory detail. It's a horrible story, but there's a picture of the door. It is, and it's not that different from the door we're looking at, is it? It's a roller shutter door which goes up. One thing to note in here, if we find it in the article, is that, and you can look this up online, but basically that there had been a fault with the sensors on the door. So it says here that the underground car park had been subject to multiple repairs since its installation. There have been numerous reports of breakdowns and vandalism of the door. The HSE carried out tests on the roller shutter doors after the death, and that included testing of 2 presence detection laser devices. Right, so we've got a couple of, basically a light curtain or some kind of trip device, which if broken should turn off the door and stop it from rolling up. These were either not working or what does it say here? If the detectors had been configured differently, it would have been unlikely that Miss Chalkley would have sustained fatal injuries. If it had been configured as it should have been configured, any of the 2 top light beams being obstructed would have stopped the gate. Right, so we have some safety measures on this. Let's go back to our NG2 project then. Who might be harmed and how? Well, it could be users of the garage door and people who do maintenance. Is it users of the garage door? Users of the garage door, anyone in the area, in the immediate area. Right, there we are. So we've got, first thing, we've got like who. Now what we need is a hazardous event. Could get trapped or entangled in the door mechanisms or between the door, the doggy flap and the top of the door, leading to, now we need a specific type of injury, leading to serious crushing injuries and possibly strangulation. It's worth bearing in mind as well, if you've got any loose clothing, loose hair, and something gets entangled into the rotating part of the door mechanism, that could also strangle you as well. Now, if we were to base this on a realistic situation, not just the movie, we would have some safety features already in place, wouldn't we? So you have to check your door, examine your door carefully, ask some questions, check the manufacturer's details, test the door carefully to see that it's all working. And normally you would have things like the presence of light beams at the top of the door to detect the presence of body parts and cause it to automatically switch off if a person is trapped. Something like that. We could also say that the motor is not strong enough to pick up a person. The door is not strong enough to pick up a person or to cause injury. Okay, there's a whole load of other controls that we could point out. Now, that being said, what happened to that tragic incident we had there? Well, we've had this door which has been subject to vandalism and abuse over time, lots of breakdowns. Why don't we introduce some kind of administrative control where we inspect and check the door on a regular basis to arrange repairs? And so that could be one of our further controls. We could say, inspect the door on a regular basis. Regular? Is regular good enough? No. Why don't we just say how often? Why don't we say on a weekly basis? On a weekly basis, and include testing of the door sensors. Just test it. Now, I've said weekly basis, and so here's a mistake that you've got to avoid. You've got to avoid the temptation to say weekly in your timescales. If you do that, you will fail. No doubt about it. We want to avoid any timescale such as immediately, or weekly, or annually, or regularly, or before use, or prior to start of the shift. You want to avoid anything vague like that. These are not timescales, everyone, right? They don't tell you like when you should start it. They don't give you a deadline by which to finish it. The question here is, when should you start to do these weekly inspections? When should you start? Well, you could start today, you could start next week, you could start next month. It depends. I might have to do a load of training. I might have to train people in how to do the inspection. I might have to choose who's going to do the inspection. I have to negotiate with them, like, hey, are you happy to do this inspection and test these devices every week, like forever while you work here? Right, it's going to take you about, 10 minutes to do this. Have you got time to do that? Have I heck got blooming time to check that blooming door? You go ask someone else. You've got to negotiate these things, haven't you? So anyway, you negotiate it, you train them how to do it, and that might take you the better part of a month. So let's put a month in there, 1 month. This is the type of timescale that you need to do. So 1 month, and let's say you're the person who's going to do this, so we could put your job title in there, health and safety advisor, or whatever your job title happens to be. Now, if you're not aware of the necessary safety features on garage roller shutter doors, well, you're probably not going to find that in your course materials because it's a bit of a niche topic. So what do? And you might decide to Google HSE roller shutter doors, and you might find something. I've never searched for this. Let's see what we find. Well, there we go. We've got a safety bulletin there. We've got revision of standards for power doors, gates, and barriers. So let's take a look at that. What have we got? Ensuring doors and gates are safe. We can take a look at that. And we've got some other stuff as well that's come up there. IOSH forums there, roller door safety, a bit of LinkedIn. So we've got various things that we could look at here, which might give us some information. Oh, look at all this. Look at all that stuff. You've got loads of stuff there. Look at all that. All right. Take a look at that information, see what applies to a roller shutter door, and then add these control measures either to the existing controls, if those controls are in place, or to the what further actions and controls are necessary if they are not in place. Hope you thought that was useful.